everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriette Cole. Welcome to the beginning of this week, and welcome to your greatness. Isn't that what it says at the beginning of our lead-in, our intro to this broadcast? This is really about you being able to leap into your greatness, about you being able to choose to engage with all that makes you the best that you can be. And I have learned that the way that that happens is when you pause. When you pause, when you take a moment to just be with yourself, when you slow your brain down, when you slow your body down, and you just decide, I'm going to be present. And that is not easy to do because we are busy. Sometimes, even before we get out of the bed, our minds are racing. We have a long list of things to do. We have things to do, things that we may be avoiding, whatever those things are, but a list. And I'm a big believer in lists, but I also understand that there comes a time, and it should come every single day, at least once, for you to put the list down and to just be present, to just be. And when you do that, what happens? Great things happen because you're able to align yourself with your own goodness. You can align yourself with what makes you tick, with what resonates between you and the greatness of the universe. And I believe that when we do that, we are connecting with the divinity that is what makes up our universe, but also that connects us to that same greatness. But you have to pause. You have to pause and decide that you're going to do it. And when you do it, clarity comes, or at least it can. So, this broadcast is called Dreamleapers Inspiration. I am a huge believer in dreams. My life, in many ways, has been guided by dreams that I've had since I was a little girl. I know that they are real. I know that they can serve as guideposts. And so something happened to me over this weekend. It was a busy weekend. I went home to celebrate my sister's birthday. My sister Stephanie turned 60 years old. My original baby, I have my daughter now, so she's my baby, but my original baby, my sister Stephanie, we can't even believe it ourselves that she turned 60 years old. And we had such a beautiful time being together and fellowshipping and just sharing love. And it was busy. It was busy. There was a whole lot going on. Great things, not so great things, as well as internal things. Stuff that I'm working through that either I've been paying too close attention to and holding on tight or not. I wonder if any of that might resonate with you. And in the midst of everything, I was sleeping one night and it felt like a voice. I received a message, I will say, that was in my dreams, and it said, let go. Like, what does that mean? Let go. And before me, in this moment, there was a situation that I've been dealing with that I need to make some decisions about how to be in alignment with myself in this situation. And it was crystal clear. Time to let go. And so I want to ask you, I wrote this in my lead up to this broadcast. How often do you not let go? How often do you hold on? How often do you just hold on tight? And so I wrote, have you ever held on too long? Have you? To a relationship, a gig, a friendship, a home, even a place where you live. What happened as a result of holding on too long? Has it ever been worth it when you've held on too long? Well, as I wrote here, I am here to tell you that there is freedom on the other side of release. And a lot of times we don't believe that. There's a lot of fear that comes into play when there's a question. Well, if I let go of this, then what happens? And we've heard the saying, when one door closes, another door opens. Way easier said than done, way easier said than believed, right? But if you've held on too long, like even your muscles can get tight and stuck. Your brain can get stuck. Your whole being can get stuck. And then what happens? Not good things when you hold on too long. And so I want us to think about what it means to let go. There's another saying, let go and let God. What does that mean in actual fact when you're actually doing it? What does that mean? Let go. Let go and let God. If you do your best up to a certain point, and then all indicators tell you, this isn't working anymore. There's a series of things that happen. Go, oh, why did that happen? Why did this happen? I deserve better. Whatever those things are, and I just need to be able to say one more thing. I need to be able to set the record straight. I need to let this one or that one know how I feel about this. How dare you do blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, that that pressure that we often put upon ourselves and others when things are not going well. And now this is a fine line because you want to do your best, work hard, put in the effort for things that you value. Absolutely. You don't want to so-called throw in the towel before it's time. You want to be the kind of person who works really hard for whatever it is that you value. And still, there can come a time, and it usually does come a time, when you have to reassess, where am I? Is this working? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing now? Am I supposed to be holding on now? What am I supposed to be doing now? And do I have the wherewithal, the strength, the clarity, the ability to let go, to extricate myself from a situation when it becomes the wrong thing to continue to do? So I'm asking you, have you ever held on too long? Could you be holding on to something too long right now? Could you just be holding on so hard because you don't know what's around the corner? So you're like, well, let me hold on to this because I don't know what's going to happen over there. Let me stick with the familiar, whatever that is, because I know it, right? I have so many examples of how this can work. And sometimes l- the let go is somebody lets go for you, right? So a friend of mine I've been working with some years ago, she had a big corporate job, big job. I'm not going to say she was in love with the job, but she loved it well enough. And there was a lot of upheaval at her job. And she was the one who was holding on. As things were changing, a lot was going on, things were changing. She was still there and digging in, doing as much as she could because she was still there. And one day, she was laid off. There was a new leader who came into her division. It's a big corporation. A new leader came in and said, you're out. And she was hurt, devastated. She had a big job, big paycheck, lots of responsibility. She liked what she was doing. It was meaningful to her and to others, and it didn't seem fair in her mind. But fair or not, she was out. At first, it was hard for her to let go of all of the feelings that were coming because she felt she was wronged. So she was holding on to anger and bitterness and disappointment and fear. And at the same time, grappling with the question, what am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do next? And one day she said she was standing in her neighborhood. This is in Queens, New York, just standing on a street, a residential street that was also, well, one side of the street was commercial, one side was residential. And just asking God, what am I supposed to be doing? Because she was lost. And she saw a, a building, a storefront that had been, that was closed. There had been a business there and there was no business there at that time. And so she inquired about this. Well, long story short, she started a juice bar in Queens. There were no juice bars in Queens. This was not the neighborhood for so-called health food. But her inspiration was, I should put something healthy in this neighborhood, in my neighborhood. This is several years ago. From that day to this, she has gotten every kind of commendation from her town, from the government. The business is prospering. She herself lost so much weight, like 3 sizes. She had been physically not so healthy in the stressful corporate job. She hadn't thought about it. It was just a fact among facts. But she started taking different care of herself, eating better, drinking the juices at the juice bar, and has created a new prosperous life for herself. Anyway, and her name is Dawn Kelly, and I love her. She's a wonderful woman. And what she described is her willingness to allow God to come in and guide her, her willingness to look through fresh eyes and to let go of all of the fear and anger and, you know, brittleness that she was feeling because she felt wronged by that job. And then what happens? Her life blossoms in ways that she could never imagine. And I see, hey, Shireen, it is inspiring. When I think of Dawn from time to time, well, I get messages from her about what's happening with her business. But I think of her because her let go, in this case, so on the one hand, she was let go. But many of us can be in situations where the job lets you go, and a lot of that is happening right now, right this second in our country. Sometimes the job lets you go. Sometimes the a relationship, someone steps out of a relationship. It could be you, but sometimes it's somebody else, and you're left. But even when you're left, the thing is, if you don't let go, then you're still there. Then you're still stuck. And so I think this is a great example for us to think about, what does it mean to let go? What does that mean? Because it's not always you making the big choice. You making the choice, I'm walking away from this, I'm not doing this anymore. But you can let go and not. You can say I'm gone, but not really be gone. If your spirit is totally entrenched in whatever the situation is, you're not gone. If the time is now for you to make a change in your life, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? That's what I want to know. Let's look at the quote that I found, because I think it's really powerful. There's a lot of inspiration around letting go. But so I had fun looking at quotes, but let's look at the quote that I found today so we can think about that. And that quote says, let me pull it up. Because my producer's getting to it, but let me pull it up. The quote, here we go, I'm looking. The quote says, The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. And this is from a man named Steve Maraboli, who wrote a book called Unapologetically You: Reflections on Life and the Human Experience. This is a big quote. So let me unpack it with you. The truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. Isn't that powerful? So there's a whole lot of unlesses in there. So the first is unless you let go. What does letting go look like and feel like? It's extricating yourself emotionally from a situation, sometimes physically from a situation. So the physical can be first. Not always, but it can be. Taking yourself out of a situation. What I've come to realize, and I think many have, you can take yourself out of a situation and still be stuck. Hey, that's why a whole bunch of people are in therapy, to learn how to get your mind and your spirit unstuck after you're out of something. Well, there are many reasons why people are in therapy, and I am a big proponent of therapy, but one of them is how do I disentangle myself from something even when I'm gone? Because if my whole being isn't gone, then I'm not gone, right? So the truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself. So, what was my role in this? Whatever happened, what was my role in this? Unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. So, this you can look at any aspect of your life and analyze it based upon this, but I'm going to use an example that comes to mind. I've talked about it a little bit over time, but when I was in college, I was in a what started out to be a great relationship and turned out not to be, and ended up in physical abuse. So not good. But didn't obviously didn't start out like that. It started out like a dream. So for a long time I was angry, like how could this person treat me this way? And over time, as I've thought about it, and I'm mentioning this to you because this could be true for you, whether it's in a romantic relationship or whatever it might be, there were definitely signs way before this relationship ended when I knew it should end. When I knew he is not doing what he's supposed to be doing, he's not treating me the way I want to be treated. I'm not showing up the way that I think I should be. I'm not behaving as the strong, you know, budding young woman who I thought I was. For a long time, I did not even create space in my brain to accept that I could be responsible for anything. Because I'm the victim. I'm the great person. But when I went deeper, really dug deeper and sat with the situation to think about what are all of the things that happened. One of them was I could have walked away a long time before. It took the physical for me to walk away when there were plenty of signs way beforehand when I should have known I should walk away. And so in the healing process, I realized years later that I had to forgive myself for not being as strong, as clear, and as capable of leaving a situation that was unhealthy. I was smart enough to leave, but I didn't. Instead, I kept trying to convince him in one way or another that I was worthy of his full attention. This piece about unless you forgive the situation. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but the situation when we were in college, there are a million, not a million, but many, many, many beautiful, smart women and not that many beautiful, smart men. And so I think it was probably difficult to stay focused on one person, not a pass, but understanding. And then, unless you realize the situation is over, okay, I knew it was over before that moment, but I wasn't willing to accept it. I kept trying to convince myself and him that it wasn't over. And he did the same thing. But you cannot move forward until you let go, whatever it takes. And in my case, it took a few things, including faith, because my mind and spirit were wrapped up in this guy. And so I couldn't see clearly. Has that ever happened to you? I couldn't see clearly, and so I kept holding on. This was for me a romantic relationship. It can be a job. It can be a friendship. It can be a thing. It can be a location. It can be anything. Whatever you are holding on to really, really tightly, and maybe it isn't serving you anymore in this moment. And so that example is an easy one to see. My example of, with the really unhealthy relationship, love relationship. But it happens in all kinds of situations. Like I mentioned, my friend Dawn. For her, it was the biggest blessing ever. She didn't know it at the time to lose her job. She has a whole new career with her children that is blossoming beautifully because in that pivotal moment, after she had been fired, she was able to let go and to see what was right in front of her face, a new opportunity that was better. So, what about you? What about you? Has anything happened for you? Is anything happening right now that's got you feeling stuck? Where you don't want to let go, you are unwilling to let go, you don't know how to let go? It feels much safer to hold on, where you might even feel like you're clawing to hold on. And so if that's the case, I want you to ask yourself why. And also, by the way, because now on Inspiration, if you want to talk on camera with me, you can. So just know if you want to talk in this conversation right now, we've got a few more minutes left. You can go to harrietcole.com/inspiration, I believe, and jump in and talk to me if you'd like to. Yep, harrietcole.com/inspiration. If you want to join the conversation, you're welcome to do so. We just started doing this at the end of last year, so I don't always remember to make the offer. But if you are so inclined, please join and talk with me. You can also write your thoughts in the comments because it's good for us to hear and see what we all are thinking. This stuff is not easy. It is not easy to let go. When it came to me in that dream this weekend, I was like, oh, okay. Life can be simpler if I don't hold on to things that are not healthy. Life can be more peaceful if I let go of things that are no longer serving me. I have a friend who says, give yourself a hug. When you feel like what you want and need so much is a hug from out there, give it to yourself. Learn how to love yourself so fully that you aren't needing someone else's affirmation in order to feel whole because another person cannot do that for you. Now, we are human beings, so we do need love from others. But if you are so needy that you feel like you're not going to be able to survive unless you get it from someone else, you are going to be extremely disappointed. It just doesn't work. And this notion of letting go, it's odd, but I've discovered that somehow in the process of letting go, love can pour in more fully when you have let go of things that don't serve you. So let's look at the quote again. The quote says, the truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive yourself, that's what he says first. Forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation. What caused this to happen? Unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. You just will stay stuck, y'all. Who wants to be stuck? It is so uncomfortable, painful. It just impossible to be stuck. And for whatever the reasons are, we allow ourselves to be stuck a lot. We allow ourselves to be stuck in situations that are unhealthy, that are not in alignment with our values, that are compromising for one reason or another because we feel like we cannot make a different choice. But Steve Maraboli says, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. I want you to think honestly, openly, sit with yourself this week and ask yourself, you don't have to tell anybody but you, what are you holding on to that you need to let go of? What isn't serving you anymore? What would happen if you actually let go of whatever that is? And if you were in a situation like so many where there's a sudden shift in your life, like right now, you lost a job, you lost a loved one, you lost you lost something. Examine it. Don't hold on to what is gone. Do you hear me? Don't hold on to what is gone. Instead, accept what is true. Do whatever the work is needed to heal yourself and move forward. And Steve Maraboli says the only way you can move forward is if you let go of all that stuff. And I know it's much easier said than done. Me sitting here pleading with you, saying this, yeah, sure, Harriet. Yeah. June says letting go feels good sometimes. It can. It can feel good. And when it does, relish that. But like medicine, even if it doesn't feel good exactly in the moment when you do it, it's probably good for you. So trust that. Trust that a decision today may help you tomorrow to be stronger, to be more in alignment with who you are, what you value, what you want for you. And so I just encourage you to let go when you need to. Listen to the voice inside. Look to see what it's telling you. Align yourself with your higher power because that's where we get strength. And then make the choice to move forward. Make the choice to get unstuck because you are worth it. And it really does work. I have somebody who just wrote, I'm going through a 25-year divorce and it's weird being single for the first time in my life. And it's hard to let go of the bond that we both have. Understood. And I'm not a therapist, but I will say this to you. There's something that you may be able to hold on to. There's respect. There's history. You don't necessarily have to stay with that person. Maybe you need to let go of the relationship as it has been in order to be free to be your full, healthy self. And you may need to be completely separated for a while just so you can get your head right. But you can also let go with kindness. You don't have to burn the relationship to the ground. You don't have to make roadkill of your partner. You can do it with love and integrity and kindness and still let go. Sometimes we think that endings have to be harsh. They don't. They can be filled with love and respect, and you can still move on. So I wish you so many blessings as you go through this. And to all of you, I wish you blessings and strength so that you're able to look at whatever is going on in your life and let go of what is no longer serving you with love, with kindness, with gentleness, and strength. Let's focus on this week and see what it yields for us. Let go. It's worth it. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.